So a couple of things that, so when it comes to taking the test at home, and I do have some people probably in the group that's taken it before, and I just want to really give you a heads up. I have a lot of clients who absolutely positively love the test at home. I would love it. It'd be great for me. However, they're very, very strict. So if you look away for more than a couple of seconds, they're going to ding you. So I'm, and I'm a thinker. I'm like, okay, what was that? What was that? What was that? They think you're looking at something else. Okay, they're going to ding you for that. If you move your mouth, they think that someone is on the other side of the camera and they think that maybe someone is helping you out. They're going to ding you for that. You take you hold up your ID, right, to the camera. You take your camera and look around your room, under your desk, all those things around, make sure there's nothing there. If there's any kind of computer issue, it's your fault, never theirs, never, never. They say they're watching you 24/7. I don't know about that, but I do know that you might get one warning and then that your test will automatically shut off and you won't even know why. Okay. Anyone that's taken the test at home before can attribute to that. Christy, can you tell us what happened to you? And I'm sorry, hold on one second. Miss, I don't know what your name is. You've got iPhone on there and I see you in your purple thing. If you're driving, you have to turn your camera off because I can't watch you die today. I'm talking to? Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I actually had to go to my best friend. I had to drop a cake off. So
I don't mind why. I don't mind why. I just can't watch you die. That's one of my rules. No, it creates PTSD in me, and it's all about me. So, Christy, you were talking about what it was like for you, and you're on and taking the test at home.
Yes, I took it in my office at school. It was very difficult, very stressful. They do make you turn around and show the whole room. They do give you a break in the middle, but
They decide when you get the break, though. They decide, not you.
Right. And I couldn't, I was so scared to do anything. I didn't even try to go to the bathroom or anything. It was very stressful.
Okay. But you get a break. I mean, you do get a break. So definitely, but they tell you when to get the break and when you get to come back. And again, I have had lots and lots of people that being at home decreases their anxiety. And I'm a huge fan. The more information you have, then the less likely you are to be anxious. So I'm for taking it home. I'd love to be stressed out on my couch, taking the test on my laptop. That works great for me. But just know the rules going in. Okay, because that's the issue, is not knowing what to expect when you're going in. Okay. But I'm a huge fan of taking it home. That works for me.
So I have a question on the home. I've done the real estate exam at home and I did my comp. Do they actually, and just curious, because I had live proctor on both of them. Yeah. Is that the same, or do they give you, or is there where you have to download software so you're locked down on your computer? Is that
Christy?
Download a software.
I'm sorry, who said that?
Geneva Tucker.
Geneva, can I see you?
You're on recording. I have a bonnet on.
Girl, I can't hear you if I can't see you. Okay, they're connected. They're connected. So there we go. Thank you.
Hey,
I could care less what you look like. Go ahead.
I was saying you're recorded. It's a software, and like they said, you do have. I do have high anxiety, I think, too, when it comes to the test, and I've taken it several times. They scan the room. The problem for me, the biggest problem for me, is wait until you get to 100 questions to get up. Because by that time, if you have to use the bathroom or something because of your anxiety, it's just not good. So, yes, you do have to download a software, and no, you can't see a person live.
I'm going to share. I am not suggesting anything. I'm just going to share. I did have a client who shared with me once that she had all of her note cards posted in her bathroom. I am not suggesting that. I'm just sharing information. Okay.
And just know, once you take it at home, you cannot, if you fail, you can't go back for a second.
Exactly. You can never take it again. And there are no accommodations at home either. I'm a huge fan of accommodations. You can't get extra time. You don't get the note, all those things you do not get at home. Definitely. But again, I've been doing this for a long time, guys, and I have a lot of people that absolutely, absolutely love it at home. Okay. So those of you that are new tonight.
Dr. Pam, can I ask a question?
Nope. Go ahead, Christy.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What do you, I'll be taking it for the third time, November
Christy,
21st.
you live in South Carolina.
No,
Where?
Mississippi.
Okay, same thing. I'm sorry.
Not the same thing.
Okay, whatever.
What did you just say? You can't take it again if you've taken it at home?
And you cannot take it again at home.
One
'Cause
time at home.
One time at home.
You're only allowed one time at home. Any other time you have to go to a testing center.
Not true.
I'm signed up to take it November 21st.
Now, I don't know what state
Okay,
you.
hold on. I'm gonna mute everybody. I'm gonna mute everybody. Okay, so the NBCC, the state test says that you only get one chance at home to take it. If you do not pass it, if your time runs out, you don't get to take it again. Now, your state may allow you to do that, but that's the exception. That is not the standard. Okay, one time at home. And you don't get accommodations, you don't get extra time. So if your state does allow that, you're very, very lucky for that, but most states do not allow that. So let me clarify also the way the test works. So many of you take the NBCC and many of you take the NCE. Like, what's the difference, right? If you can only take the test every 6 months, your state uses the national exam. Okay. If you can take it every 90 days, your state uses the state exam. Exactly the same. Exactly the same. No difference whatsoever, just depending on your state. The NBCC, you don't get your results right away. You have to wait till the test is normed, and then you get your test results at a later time. In CE, you get your test results immediately. Same test, depending on what your state has chosen to do. Exact same test. So don't freak out because, oh my gosh, this is what they do. Anybody have to take a jurisprudence test? The law test. Okay. So when it comes to the code of ethics is the same for everyone. However, if you're taking a jurisprudence or the laws in your state, that's different than the code of ethics. So for example, the code of ethics says that I have to keep records based on the local, follow local and local guidelines, right? Okay, that's what the code of ethics says. But in your state, it may say you keep them from 5 years, you keep them for 7 years. You have to know your state rules if you're taking 2 separate tests. But that's not a requirement in every state. It just depends on where you live. Okay, I was in South Florida when I took my test the first time. I always figured if I ever became famous, everyone would know. I failed the jurisprudence test the first time. Yes, I did. 10 questions and I failed. Okay, so if it's out there somewhere floating, I will call myself out. I failed it the first time. The clinical test I did fine on, but I had to go back and take that test twice. Okay, so just know that's based on your state. But the code of ethics for the NCE test, the NBCC test, it's not based on your state. It's based on the code of ethics, which are ethical, not legal. Does that clarify that? Okay. Okay. So again, if you're new with me tonight, the way that the group usually runs is I'm gonna follow up with last week, and I put some questions in the chat box. If you didn't see them, I'm gonna go back and pull them up. Don't answer. And then I'm going to go into our subject, really make sure that we get everything covered. And tonight we're talking about helping relations. So if you remember, if you're familiar with those, the K-CREP areas and looking at those things you have to measure, where the points come from, knowing the helping relations is huge, 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 huge. Okay. Again, knowing the verbiage of each clinician. Knowing when I hear Gestalt at Fritz Perls, and Fritz Perls talks about the here and now. He talks about letting go of that unfinished business. He's experiential. He talks to the empty chair, and he's the only one that uses that verbiage. Every theorist has their own verbiage. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to go back, and I just want to follow up on last week. And because I know you all guys, like I don't know, Joy said the video doesn't exist, but I'm pretty sure it does. And I know that you follow the rules because we always suggest that you study 6 days a week, an hour every day, an hour, morning, afternoon, and night. Same video, right? So I know that all of you studied that, right? Of course you did. Yeah, of course, Dr. Pam, no problem. So let me go back to the chat and pull up those questions. And again, please don't answer.
May I
Let's
ask
see.
a question before you start, please?
Of course, only if you know how I hear. Thank you. Go ahead.
So if we
Let me
fail the
clarify.
test,
Let me clarify. Let me just clarify. The reason that I want your camera on, I do not care what you look like. I could care less what you're doing. I read your affect, the mood. So if your face doesn't match your body language, if you say, I understand, I'm going to keep talking because I know you don't understand, and you don't have to ask me a question. I'm just going to keep talking. Okay. So
Okay.
that keeps you from having to ask questions. That's why. Go ahead, June.
no problem. I just want to know, so if we take the test in person and we fail, how long do we have to wait before we can take it again?
Okay. So are you taking what state do you live in?
Texas.
Texas. Anybody answer that? My Dallas Cowboy fan.
90 days.
You have to wait 90 days.
90 days.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
So I know that if you live in Texas, your ethnicity is you're a Dallas Cowboys fan because that's God's team, right?
Not true.
Not true.
I am not
So
a Dallas
again,
Cowboys fan. I am a Houston Texan fan, and I will stay a Houston Texan fan
okay,
no matter
that's
how
still
much
your-
we lose.
that
I
is your
hate the Dallas
ethnicity.
Cowboys, and Dallas Cowboys make me itch.
That's what I'm talking about, Miss June. Go Texans.
I'm going to mute everybody. So I brought that up just to say your ethnicity as opposed to like your race, right? Your race is your skin color, but many of you Texans, is that the word? Texians? I don't know the word, I'm sorry. That your ethnicity, your culture, many times is rooted in how you grew up, right? Everything is big in Texas, I've heard. I don't know, but those are the things that I've heard. That's the culture or the ethnicity, which is different than your race. Okay, so what I hear is Texas, they use the NCE, so you can take it every 90 days. Okay, let's see here. I see Sonia. So I'm a huge fan of accommodations. I will say always, and in any of my previous videos, if you've taken this test more than twice and you have given it everything you've got and you still fail, we're missing something. We're definitely missing something. I'm a huge fan of accommodations. So the ADA does not see physical disabilities any different than emotional or behavioral difficulties. Okay. So if you have anxiety, I'm sorry, you didn't suddenly wake up and have test anxiety. You've had anxiety the whole time, and the test just triggered it or exacerbated it. You didn't work. Oh, it's happy-go-lucky life. Life is good. Suddenly test. Oh, you've had anxiety. Just face up to it. So I suggest that you ask for 2 extra hours at a private room. That's a standard accommodation. There's a form on the NBC site that has to be signed by a mental health provider or your physical doctor, your MD. Okay. And I say be very, very specific. If you just put extra time on there, they're going to give you like what they deserve, what they think you deserve to have. Very, very specific. 2 extra hours and a private room. So for me, taking any kind of test, if the person beside me, and I know someone said that they took the realtor test, and I may cognitively know they took that test, but yet they're done and I'm on question like 30 and I'm freaking out. My anxiety level went, and I may hear, no, they're not taking the same test, but my anxiety still went way up. In my private room, I'm an auditory processor. I like to read out loud. I learn by hearing. That's how I learn. So for me, that's really important. So, and I say that not only to you, but also for your clients. So if your clients are difficulty with the ACT, the SAT, any of the college exams, ask for accommodations. It's HIPAA. No one is ever going to know. They're not going to come back and look for you and say, oh, by the way, I see 10 years ago, you got accommodations. What? That's not going to happen. Okay. When it comes to language, if English is not your first language, I suggest that you ask for language accommodations. There are a couple of states that will not recognize it. Nevada, New York, I'm thinking like Utah, one of those bizarre states. And if you live in Utah, please don't hit me on Facebook and tell me how awful I am. But so I think of like, you know, whenever you went to college or you had a doctor or a dentist that you didn't always understand their English, they had to get a license in English, right? They had to take the medical license and pass it in English. So no one will ever know. It's really okay to ask for those accommodations. I say like New York is very clear. They don't allow accommodations for language in New York. South Florida does. That's where I'm from. They do. However, so if you're looking at reciprocity, so you might have taken your test in Jersey, and Jersey allows for accommodations with the language, but New York, they won't accept that license. Okay, so just kind of look at, if you think of planning on moving in the future, look at those kind of issues. What else? If you're pregnant, if you want to be pregnant, if you can pretend you're pregnant, whatever, ask for accommodations. You've got some diabetes, if you're pre-diabetic, if your doctor will write, you may have diabetes in the future, ask for accommodations, right? 4 hours without eating to me is like, whoa, I can't go 4 hours without eating. And I don't need like, you know, a huge meal, but my blood sugar drops, and I'm not diabetic. My blood sugar just drops if I hadn't eaten. Okay. Again, you know, the clock doesn't stop. I'm a big coffee drinker. One of the questions on the test talks about caffeine addiction. One of the things is gastrointestinal issues. Coffee makes me poop and pee. Okay, so I'm a coffee drinker. I need my coffee, but I'm all alone. I'm going to have to poop too. So I might ask my doctor to write that nicely, not Dr. Pam has to go poop, but I might ask him to give me some extra time, because if I drink coffee, I need my caffeine to do that, but I also know what's going to happen once I drink coffee. And if I spend more than 5 or 6 minutes in the bathroom, I don't want the clock to run against me. Okay, again, HIPAA covers that. No one will ever know. We're trying to make it equal. We're not trying to make it fair. So we're not trying to cheat the system. We're just trying to make it fair.
So Dr. Pam, the clock doesn't stop when you go take a restroom break?
It does not.
Okay.
And you have to raise your hand, and someone comes over, and I have to like do some stuff to your computer. You have to walk out and then come back. Got to wash your hands. It's COVID, right? And the clock does not stop. You don't have to wash your hands. I'm just saying. I prefer you wash your hands.
Dr. Pam, once you obtain this letter, whatever, from your doctor, therapist, whatever, can you send it in to the state before you
send
actually
it into your, okay, so if you've already registered, you always have already have a test date, it'll cost you $35 additional, and it'll change your test date. It takes about 6 to 8 weeks to get accommodations. So if you have a deadline, that's definitely going to affect your deadline. Okay.
Okay.
So if you haven't registered yet, there's no additional charge. So you're going to submit that when you submit your application at the state level. Okay. That goes then to NBCC, the national, and they then come back, they approve it, and that goes to Pearson. Okay.
Okay.
If you call Pearson or call your state and say, can I get accommodations for anxiety? They're going to say no. Most of your states hate me, by the way. Most of your states kind of hate me. It's okay too. Louisiana really hates me because we have lots of issues there. But I don't really care. The goal is you need to fight for you the same way you fight for your clients.
Okay. My question is, can you send it in before you have a test date?
It goes in with your application.
Which application? Okay, I got it.
Okay, with your application. And that way it waives that. But let me just be honest with you guys. So let's just talk about the range of accommodations. I have some clients that had I have double time in 2 days. One of my clients has a back injury and they can't sit for more than 5 or 6 hours. So they get half the time. They have 8 hours in 2 days. Okay, so the test stops and they come back the next day and do it again. Pencil and paper accommodations. If you have vision problems, if you're not really able to understand or you have difficulty reading from the computer, if you have a doctor or a therapist, again, that will vouch for that, then you can ask for the pencil and paper test. The downfall of the pencil and paper test is it takes 14 days to get the results back. You don't get them right away. So for a lot of people, that creates more anxiety. Let me tell you just anecdotal, and it's a social worker. So her test results, she took the test. Wow, her test results had probably been back 3 weeks. And she hasn't opened the envelope yet. So her birthday is November 9th, and we have a session scheduled for the 9th of November because she hasn't opened her results yet because it was a pencil and paper test. They were mailed to her, and she's like, I just don't want to know. Okay. If you have any kind of documented reading disability, any accommodations that you may have had in college and high school, any kind of reading disabilities, you can ask for a reader. You can also ask for a recorder. I have tutored people that are both blind as well as hearing impaired. Okay, so those are possible accommodations. Okay, I think what else? Again, if you have diabetes, you got the sugar, right? You know, you need some food, so you want extra time, so you can go to your locker and eat your apple, not your cupcake, your apple, your orange, right, to keep your sugar up. And again, your doctor can request that. Most often, I'll say to you, just tell your doctor what you want. Write it out and just ask him to sign it. That's so much easier. I've never had anyone turn down for accommodations. What I've had is they ask for more information. And that, again, takes longer. So you want to get that in as accurately as you can. You don't have to be on medication. You don't have to have a clinical diagnosis. You don't need any of those things. But what you want to share with the board is these are the issues and you're having difficulty with those issues. Okay. Okay. So Michigan is so different. Got it. Regina, how are you, Regina? Okay, I want to go back and answer those questions that I put in the chat box earlier. I'll put them in again if you did not see them. And this is a follow-up from last week because Coach Joyce taught you everything that you should know. I'm going to put it in the chat box again. Again, I'm going to ask you, do not answer out loud. Do not answer, do not speak it. Do not put it in the chat box until I say so. Does everybody see it? It says, when an individual in a family markedly improves and another simultaneously deteriorates, this would be recognized as an example of what? So remember, the first thing we're always going to do is understand the question. A lot of those big words, they're like, what the heck are they asking me? Okay, so someone markedly, when I see the word markedly, that means something. That means, wow, they improved greatly. Like, wow, they improved greatly. And yet another person, and the assumption is in the family, it's the family question, the other person then deteriorates. What is this an example of? Don't answer. Role complementary, pseudo mutuality, family homeostasis, or family fusion. So I'm going to just do some thinking out loud. I know that family fusion belongs to who? What theorist would say that? Anybody? Fusion, we're all just one mess. Yes, that could be not strategic. Strategic is how we talk to each other.
Structural, I guess it would be.
Is it Salvador Minuchin?
It could be structural Minuchin. It also could belong to the genogram. Bowen talked about us just being this big old nasty mess, right? That we keep doing things because our mom and dad did it. Okay. Your iPhone user, it's in the chat box. I'm not sure how to get to the chat box from your iPhone. I'm pretty sure there's like a chat button and you just kind of go up and see it. Okay, I'll read it all out again.
Somebody needs help. Dr. Pam, I can't see the question.
So it's in the chat box. And if you can't see it in the chat box, I apologize. You can come back and look at it later, but it's in the chat box. I think on your phone or your iPad, you still hit the chat, but the chat, it looks like the little, like someone's talking over your head, that button. Okay. So when one individual in a family markedly improves and the other simultaneously deteriorates, this would be an example of what? Row complementary, pseudo-mutuality, family homeostasis, or family fusion. I took out 4, I took out fusion because I know that fusion talks about, again, it's Bowen or either structural, like we're one big old yucky mess. Okay. Pseudo-mutuality, pseudo means fake. So fake mutuality, like we're pretending to get along. Okay. So I should be down to 1 or 3. Angelina Wilson, what do you think my answer is?
Oh my gosh, you took the one that I was thinking it was because I didn't know what that word meant.
But you know everything. Go ahead. You can also phone a friend if you need to. You can ask for help from the audience.
I want to practice just because I won't be able to phone a friend and test. Okay.
Okay.
So, okay, so we know it's not 4 and we know it's not 2. So it's either family homeostasis or role complementary. Complementary means when everybody, or like the roles, everybody's acting the role that they're supposed to be.
And they work well together, right?
Right.
Okay.
So then that would have to be family homeostasis.
Yeah, yes. Okay, tell me why. Explain it to me.
Okay, so you have in a family, one person is like improving and trying, and then they have the other person that's just probably like my ex-husband, and they're not doing anything.
Ooh, countertransference.
Not going into family.
Go ahead, keep going.
So you have the other one that just deteriorates and kind of gives up. So
what is homeostasis? What does that mean?
Is that when like things just don't, it's kind of like the opposite of fusion, like they're going the opposite directions?
So homeostasis is my norm. That's my norm, right?
Okay.
That is how families are. So in healthy families, your homeostasis, most of you, I can follow you for a couple of days and I can tell you what your routine is. You get off from work, you stop by the gym, you make dinner, you pick up the kids to do homework. I can probably pretty much tell you what it looks like.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the families we work with, their homeostasis is not healthy. Dad gets paid on Friday, he gets his cashier's check, he stops by the booby bar, he puts some money in the girl's underwear, then he goes gambling with his friends, he goes fishing, and then by Monday, there's no money left. That's still their homeostasis, right? That's still their norm.
Oh, so home, and then, so it's the home life, the homeostasis.
It's their routine, it's their norm, it's their norm, okay? So my norm is my norm, I like my norm. Kids who run away from abusive situations, so kids are abusive family, right? They get put into foster care, this nice, healthy, maybe foster care situation. When they run away, where do they go?
Usually they're friends.
Back to the crazy.
Abusive relationship.
Back to home. They're used to the crazy. They're used to the crazy. Okay, so they're going to go back to what they're used to. Okay. And I know I'm the only one, but you got them shoes that are worn out and they're scuffed and they look awful, but you still keep wearing them. You got the new pair in the closet, but you're like, oh, but these feel so good. That's our norm. That is our norm. That's our homeostasis. So families like to stay at their homeostasis. We come in and we rock their homeostasis. Specifically, we talk about Salvador Minuchin, right? Minuchin actually joined the family. He'd come over, he'd question your homeostasis. Why am Dad in charge? Why are these boundaries all messed up? Okay, so homeostasis is your norm, but the families we work with, it is not a healthy norm. Good with that?
Dr. Pam, can I ask a question?
No. I'm gonna keep talking anyway, no matter what I say. Keep going.
You know I am, but
I
I'm
do.
trying-
So what even ask? It's like a double bind. There's no right answer. Just keep talking.
I guess I knew that was the definition, right? That it was the routine or the norm. But I didn't plug it in that would be the right answer.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to teach you is that not only do you have to know homeostasis, you have to know then what it looks like in a question. Okay, because they're not going to ask you what is homeostasis. It's not going to be that simple. You've got to take the content and be able to apply it to a question. Okay, so if mom and dad, let's say in a typical family that dad's been a drug user. He's been a drug user for the last 20 years and suddenly dad gets clean. Okay, it's not uncommon that we'll see then the 16-year-old boy start to use.
Okay.
Because they're used to the chaos. They're used to the money being missing. Police being at the house every 15 minutes. They're used to people fighting. The calmness is scary because I've never experienced the calmness. So I'm going to try to go back to our norm, which was crazy.
Okay.
And I use that with the nicest of terms. When I say crazy, please don't put me on Facebook. Don't text me. I don't mean crazy. I just mean they're crazy, right? All of us have our own crazy. In crisis intervention, the goal is to take you back to your own crazy, right? Take me back to my norm of crazy. I know you guys have these great families and your families never have any issues. I live by myself and I get issues. Okay, so just so you know, are crazy. Okay, so the next one.
Dr. Pam, before we move on, can I ask one more question about that previous question?
Does it matter what I say?
Yes.
Really. Keep going.
So this question confused me as well. I wouldn't have picked family homeostasis because
what was your pick?
I was going to go with what someone else said because I didn't know what studio mutuality was. So I was going to guess.
Okay.
But what threw me off with this question was that it sounded like they were working on the relationship, meaning it markedly improved.
I'm sorry, where do you see that?
In the question, it says it market.
Okay, but where do you see they're working on the relationship? Where did I see that in the question?
Well, that's what I thought because
I'm sorry, that's what? That's what you what?
Okay.
Okay, it's a reading test. Do you see that? Do you see those words in there?
I don't.
Okay, so unless it says according to the Wanda, doesn't matter what you think. And that's part of the problem, guys, right? We all bring in our experience, we all bring in our thoughts, and we have to kind of leave those thoughts outside because all it says is it should be one family member, when ninjas join family, right? The family, when one improves, and that was the key there. It's a family. That's the homeostasis.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I told you Coach Joyce was a lot nicer than I am. I'm not gonna pretend. She's so much nicer than I am. Okay, so any of you that tutor with me that wasn't teacher with Coach Joyce, I swear she's so much nicer than I am. Right, Paige? She's so nicer than I am. Okay.
Don't call me out.
I will call you out, girl, but it's really okay.
No, you give me anxiety. So I'm nervous.
Honestly. So remember, whether it's this or anything else, the therapeutic relationship is the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
It's the most important thing. It doesn't matter if I'm the best Gestalt or the best whatever. What matters is the client and I have that bond, right? And that's really, really what matters.
I still learn from you though. I still watch your videos.
It's okay that Joyce is better for you than me. It's really
okay. Yeah. I work with your daughter too. So yeah.
Girl, who you talk about?
I'm
gonna go back and delete that. That conversation didn't happen. Okay, so a parent expresses affection to her children through clenched teeth and denies that she is angry or tense. This is best described as what? And again, these are family questions. These are based on what you watched last week and follow up on what you learned last week. So I express affection to my children through clenched teeth, and I deny that I'm angry or tense. So what my mouth is saying doesn't match what my body is saying. So don't answer yet. Double bind communication. 2, obsessive compulsive behavior. 3, a severe communication disorder, or 4, a form of child abuse. It is not 4. I'll make it easy for you. Don't answer yet. Oh, let's see here. Karen, I know you were here last week. Karen, what do you think my answer is on that one? Unmute yourself, babe. Think out loud.
Well, I don't think it's obsessive compulsive behavior.
Not enough to prove that in the question. You're right.
Okay. And we know it's not a form of child abuse.
Took that out. So now you're down to 1
Severe
or
communication
3.
disorder or a double bind communication.
Okay.
And I don't think it's a severe communication disorder.
I don't think that's a is that a DSM thing? I don't think
I don't think so.
Okay, so what's my answer?
I'm going to go with a double bind communication.
Yes, you are. Okay. For the bell, does that belong to strategic or structural?
Structural.
Does that belong to strategic or structural?
Strategic. And I actually can remember the page I've got this person written on. I can't remember the name.
So strategic most often is going to be Jay Haley. You might see Chloe Mendez.
We talked about Haley the other day.
Haley is the one we're most often going to see. John Jackson, you might see his name as well. But strategic is how we talk to each other, right? So strategic, I always think it's like a chess game. So I'm going to come up with an intervention to kind of match what's going on. So
I was just testing you.
Okay. Did I pass? Did I still pass?
Yes.
I was worried there. Okay. So are you guys good with that one?
As soon as you said that, I remember structure is about the foundation.
It is. Relabeling belongs to structural. I'm sorry, reframing belongs to structural. Relabeling belongs to strategic. Okay. We good with that one?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Who said that?
Cassandra Scott.
Cassandra, ask me some questions.
Ask some questions. Jesus. I'm kind of confused with the double bind. I'm thinking that for double bind, the parent as well as the children has the bad communication.
So in the double bind, that is, so and remember family structure, right? The mom and dad are always the bad people. Always. Okay.
Yes.
So the double bind is when I give you unclear or mixed messages. Okay. Cassandra, what do you do?
I'm a teacher.
Oh, Cassandra. So how many kids have you've talked to their parents and their parents have told you 1,000 times, this homework is so important. My kid better get an A. But yet when you call them to ask if they help with the kid's homework, they're like, no.
Lots of times.
Oh, they're giving you 2 messages, right? They're telling you out of one side of their mouth that school is important, but the other side of their mouth, they're telling you it's not really.
Okay.
That's a mixed message, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that help?
That helped a lot. Appreciate it.
Okay. And again, I'm not teaching you anything new. This is not brain surgery. I'm just giving you the terms of what you do every day anyway. You do this every single day. You've seen this. I'm fine. Those of you that might have a spouse, significant other. Are you really fine? Just because the words are coming out of my mouth, my body is not matching that, so I am not fine. And you're hoping your spouse believes you. No, you're not. You're hoping they'll say something and recognize that you're not fine. Remember, if the mouth and the body don't match, which do you believe?
Christian started acting belligerent and crazy and refused to surrender.
The hips don't lie. The body. The body, absolutely. The hips don't lie. That's Shakira. Because, I made that up. But believe the body. You're going to believe the body, not what the mouth says. Okay, double blind is a research term, right? When neither the researcher or the person in the research knows what they're getting. That's the double blind technique. Okay. Okay, can I go on to tonight's subject? Are we good? Okay. So we're talking about our theorists tonight. And again, that's a huge, huge part of the test. So let me kind of pull up some things here. I'm going to stop sharing just for a minute. So it's always important to know which theorist belongs to what, which language, which verbiage that particular theorist would use. So if I say here and now, what theorist do you think of?
Just out.
Anybody? Okay. So what does that mean?
That they're focused, the therapy is focusing on the present behaviors and the whole body of what's going on now, the conscious mind.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I'd use conscious mind, but okay. You're right, though. You're right. Conscious mind is choice. Unconscious is going to be like psychodynamic or psychoanalytic. Shamise, what do you do? Is it Shamise? I'm sorry, Shamise?
Shamise. Actually, I'm not working. I just graduated, so I just been studying.
Yes, girl. Did you have to take the CPCE?
No.
Oh, lucky you. Okay. So is this you don't look 20. I'm just going to put that out there. I think you're 22 or 23. So this is the second profession for you, maybe?
Yes, I used to be a database manager at a legal association for 21 years.
This is totally different. Wow.
Totally
Congratulations.
different.
Congratulations. Okay. So Gestalt, and you're absolutely right. Gestalt means I'm going to focus on the here and now. He said, I can't be a whole person unless I get rid of the unfinished business. What techniques did he use to get rid of that unfinished business?
Empty chair technique.
Dr. Phil said, pretend your mama's sitting in that chair, right? So really what he said is, I can't be a whole person until I get rid of that information, that past stuff. Okay. So does the person have to be dead? No, they don't have to be dead. It just has to be someone that I can't live. I can't get on with my current stuff because I haven't finished the past. Okay. Very good. Very good. Do you see my screen? Am I sharing?
No, not yet.
Oh, it's a mind reading test today. You have to kind of figure out what I'm thinking. Okay, now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to mute everybody. Okay. I'm going to go over some just content information. If you want to ask me a question, please, do you know how to raise your hand in the chat box? I don't mean literally raise your hand. I mean, if you see on your chat box, you can just like raise your hand. And if I don't recognize you, oh, I see that. Angelina, was that a practice of raising your hand?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And again, I prefer that your cameras be on because I can tell if you understand just because of, when I go over things, I can see if you understand. So please see your cameras on and don't think I won't call on you just because your cameras are not on. Not at all. Okay. I just want to go through some things. You will get this today as we go over. This is a lot of information. This is kind of an overall view of the helping relationships, some techniques that you will see. Okay. So I'm going to start off with, again, so attending skills are, that's why I asked you to keep your camera on, because attending skills means if I ask Jocelyn a question and June looks confused, I can call on June because I know that she looks confused. Attending skills means I'm present in the situation and I know both your verbal and your nonverbal cues. Okay. In a group setting like this, I only have to attend to one person. I have to attend to everybody else in the session. Right? Because I asked Paula a question and Jody's got this look on her face like, what the heck does that mean? Then I have to be aware of that. Paraphrasing is how you got through grad school. You changed every fifth word, right? You just had to get to the plagiarism thing. Oh. So that's paraphrasing, putting it back in your own words. Let the client know that you heard them using your own words. Reflection is one of the most important things you'll see. Reflection is using the feelings the client didn't say. Okay. Angelica Garza. Girl, I like your headboard.
Thank you.
So, is this your first time taking the test?
No, I took it last year, as soon as I graduated, but I was very thinking, oh, I got this. And then I took the test and I was like, what is this? So now I'm here.
Okay, so I'm going to use some reflection skills. Oh, I'm going to say, is it Angelica?
Yeah, that's
okay. Angelica, I bet when you got to the test the first time that you were probably both overwhelmed and maybe even a bit disappointed.
Yes, not what I expected whatsoever.
So those are reflection skills. You didn't tell me that. You didn't use those words. Reflection always includes the feelings the client didn't say. And you do it all of the time. A client comes in and they're slamming the chair and they're mad at you and you're like, oh, so it appears like you're angry with me. Do you want to discuss it? We always do that. Reflection always includes feelings. Okay. These things, timing, stereotyping, depth, and language. Has anyone seen those on the test?
I remember seeing something about timing.
Got it. Okay. So I think about timing. I think about comedians. Okay. So comedians are great at timing, right? They'll tell a joke, give you a couple minutes to laugh, and then they'll kind of do what they need to do. So we talk about silence, the use of silence. The use of silence is really, really important. A client has to get their act together. They're kind of telling you something. But if a client tells you, by the way, when I was 12, my father molested me and my sisters, and I felt shame ever since then. Is that the best time for you to stay silent? It is not. I just dropped a bomb in your lap. I need you to acknowledge my feelings. That's timing. Timing is, when do we stay silent? When do we say something? That's really, really important. You never stay silent when a client drops a bomb in your lap. Oh, by the way, did I forget to tell you that 6 years ago that I murdered my wife and she's buried in my backyard? I know your insides are flip-flopping, like, what do I do? What do I do? Right? But your outside needs to say, wow. So that must have been difficult for you to share that with me. That's reflection. Okay. Paula Garcia, if a client tells me they killed their wife 6 years ago, do I share that? Yo, Paula, come on down. Paula's like, I don't know, and I'm not sharing. Joshua Dryden, are you there?
Yes, Dr. Pam, it's Erin Dockery.
Thank you. Is that your husband? Or some pseudonym?
Yes, my phone is dead, so I borrowed his.
Okay. I didn't know if you had like an alter ego or something, maybe some DID or something, some stuff going on. So if a client tells me that hey, maybe, I just need you to use your best personality to take the test, okay? Whatever one is the smartest, that's one you need to use. So a client tells me that he killed his wife 6 years ago. Do I share that?
No.
Why not?
Because it's not hurting somebody right now.
Right. They're already dead. They're already dead. It don't matter. No one's in danger. Absolutely. I keep that to myself. Rashida, you're like, are you sure, Dr.
I guess I would ask, why would we not say anything about that?
Because the code of ethics says I can't. The code of ethics says I can only share if someone is in imminent danger of hurting themselves or others. Okay, I'm the secret keeper. It's the same as talking to your priest or your attorney. I'm going to keep your secrets because no one is in imminent danger. Yes, she's dead, and yes, she's buried in the backyard. But I'm going to encourage the client to say something, but the code of ethics is very, very clear. Somebody has to be in imminent danger. Okay. Jody, what if my client tells me they're going to go rob a bank tomorrow? Do I share that?
Yes.
Because who's in imminent danger?
Because, oh, I don't know. I guess it would depend on whether or not he had a gun when he went to rob the
It doesn't
bank.
matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
He didn't say he's going to do it right now and that he's taking a gun with him, so I don't tell.
So if he says, I'm going to go kill the bank teller, then I have to say something. But if he says, I'm going to go rob a bank, then again, I'm the secret keeper. I cannot share that. There's no proof of that client that anyone is in imminent danger. I will say, please don't take the $3 I have in my account. I only got like $6. Don't take that. But in general, I know no one is in imminent danger. We are secret keepers. Okay, people confide in us. They trust us. So if no one is in imminent danger, I can't share. It doesn't mean I'm not going to say to the client, well, maybe you should turn yourself in, or maybe you shouldn't do this. Of course I'm going to. Right? I'm looking out for the best of my client. But if no one is in imminent danger, I cannot share. That is part of the code of ethics. I just can't. And I know that's foreign, right? It seems strange, but I just can't share. Okay. So timing, as I mentioned before, that talks about how we respond to timing. Stereotyping, beginning the same way every time. So stereotyping is not necessarily a diversity term. It is just that I use the same thing, the same time with every client. Okay. Depth. So if you know me for a while, I may have said a couple of times, I'd like to put my fingers around my children's neck and squeeze. I'm just saying, I might. Okay, they're grown now. It's much easier. But when they were little, I said, what? Okay. So what would you do if I said that? You want to call and report me?
No, I'm
What are you
not
gonna
going
do?
to. Oh, it sounds like you're really frustrated with your kids.
So, and I'm gonna, exactly. So I'm gonna say, well, Dr. Pam, tell me more. Do you think you can really do that? If I tell you, yes, I've done it several times, they didn't die, then you're gonna report me, right? But depth means, I hate this job. I hate you people. I want to kill everybody. You're going to ask the client more information. Okay. And language has to do with what the client said. So we talk about clarification in other chapters. The language is making sure that we speak the same language. Okay. So I'm going to go, my daughter says, I'm going to go, what did she say? Oh gosh, I got to get the bag. I got to go get the bag. Okay. I'm like, you're going to go buy a new purse. So get the bag. She's 19. That means she's going to go out and make some money. So I want to make sure I understand. So that's also known as clarification. Okay. So those are the terms. Summarization is always at the end. Okay. Confrontation, we can confront clients. We're not going to do that in the first session. That's not what we do. However, if the mouth and the body doesn't line up, I'm going to ask you, what does that mean? Okay. I tell you, do you see my bottle of water? Do you see me? Yes, you can see me, or no, you can't.
Yes.
Yes.
I would never drink bottled water. It's bad for the environment. Am I lying?
Yes.
Call me on it. That's confrontation. Call me on it. Okay, that's when you confront. When what I'm doing doesn't match with what I'm saying. Drug and alcohol users and pedophiles are always lying. If their mouth is moving, you're going to call it on it. Okay, it's okay to confront. We're not going to confront on the first session, right? Because we're trying to establish rapport, but it's okay to confront. Okay. Let me go down and you'll get this, okay? As we talk about theories, we're talking about Freud. When I think about Freud, what terms come to mind, guys?
Psychoanalyst. The association.
Okay, so what does that mean? What is the goal of a psychoanalytic theory?
To bring the unconscious to the conscious.
Ding, ding, ding. Absolutely. Freud said all of those things that are hidden in my unconscious that I'm not aware of, that's what causes me issues. So if I can bring them to the conscious, then I can deal with them. He used the TAT, the thematic apperception test, the black and white pictures. He used the Rorschach, the ink blot. He also used like free association as well as like the incomplete sentence test. Incomplete sentence test says, you get this, what that looks like. Called the rotter sometimes. I'm always afraid to Google because you might see my history. Ooh. Here we go. That's called the rotters. Okay. So then the rotters would have you just fill in the blank. Okay, so you see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Let's see here. Let's call in somebody. CC Johnson Hill. Answer number 1. Sports what? That's a really bad connection. I didn't get that, so I'm going to kind of skip you on that one, okay? Marcia, sports what? Desmond, sports what?
I'm sorry, Dr. Pam.
You see my screen?
Yes, I do.
Okay, fill in the blank. Sports what?
Sports person.
Okay. I would say sports suck, but that's because I'm not a sports person. So I was saying, I don't understand why the Tennessee-Georgia game is drawing all these people. I don't get it. Okay.
Tennessee suck.
Just called me.
Tennessee does not suck. I live in Tennessee, okay? I went to UTK for half a minute. Yes. Okay. So yes, I did call on you, Miss. Is it Glenlock?
Genlock. Sorry, Dr.
Genlock,
I'm trying to multitask.
Gotcha. Do you know how important I am?
I know, but my son turned 7 and I'm the host of the birthday party. So I have you in my ears while I'm doing birthday cake.
So I was gonna say I am so not important, okay? So when I was a child, what? Don't think.
I thought like a child.
Okay. 18, my nerves. Victoria, my nerves what? You're muted. Say again.
Our shot.
That's what I was saying. Absolutely. Okay. So again, with Freud, there's no right or wrong answer. Freud is very much a subjective. It was his opinion. The psychoanalytic theory talks about bringing the unconscious to the conscious, just really based on what Freud said on his theories. Okay. So that's all that means, to bring the unconscious to the conscious. Psychodynamic is what we use now, which is going to be 12 sessions. Psychoanalytic theory is where we started. We could lay on my couch between 3 to 5 years. I made mega bucks and no one ever asked any questions. I do miss those days, I'm not gonna lie. Okay. So when it comes to Freud, knowing my id, ego, and superego. My id is my pleasure principle. Eat, sleep, and have sex. My super ego is the angel. The angel says, Pam, don't you ever touch yourself down there, Pam? Never, never, never. You get hair on your palms, right? The ego, of course, is me. Ego defense mechanisms, ego reality. So the ego is always trying to keep my id and my super ego in check. Okay. My id sometimes wins. Not gonna lie, not gonna lie. The devil made me do it. That's when my id wins. Okay. I know you've all heard that term, the devil made me do it. That's a Freudian term because my id, my pleasure principle, won. Freud said, I'm born with that. It's innate. Eat, sleep, and have sex. Freud said, if we don't do those things, then society would not go on. Okay. A list of your defense mechanisms. Repression. Repression is pushing everything down. It didn't happen. It just didn't happen. Fixation is a Freudian term. Fixation means I got stuck in that stage. So Freud said those stages, oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital. If I get stuck in the oral stage, my mom pulled the bottle out of my mouth too soon, right? He said, those are my erogenous zones. So if I didn't get that satiated when I was a kid, as an adult, I'm fixed there. So I'm putting things in my mouth, I'm drinking, I'm smoking. Before braces, I used to be a huge pencil chewer. Just gonna say, maybe my mom took the bottle out of my mouth too soon. I don't know. But now I can't afford it because this stuff costs too much. I can't be chewing on no pencils. So what a question may look like is a woman overeats or a man overeats or he drinks and he doesn't recall doing it. Freud would say that his mother did not finish, he did not satisfy the erogenous zone, so he's fixated in that mouth. Okay. Again, my defense mechanisms you'll see. So Freud is the only one that believed in the sexual stages, oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital. Old ass people love gold. Orphan Annie, pretty little girl. And if you did not fixate, if you did not get those stages met, you'd be stuck there. Right. You all know phallic. You talk about men that drive the F-250s, right? They got the really long car. What did Freud say about that? Don't act like you don't know. If you drive an F-250 double cab, long bed, he said that you're missing something, some inches down there because you're making up. I didn't make it up. I'm just telling you what Freud said. Phallic symbols, right? He would say that you did not get that you're fixated in that stage. So you're overcompensating a defense mechanism by dying the F-250 double cab, extended doors. If your husband drives that, don't ask, just don't tell me. But I'm just saying, that's what Freud would say. So we use these terms all the time. Okay, a phallic symbol is anything that looks like a penis. We still use those terms. Okay? In that phallic stage, remember, that's the Oedipus and the Electra. Little boy's in love with his mother, and he's afraid his father will find out and castrate him. And little girl is in love with her father, which is the Electra state. Again, terms you'll see, Eros and Thanatos. Eros, you'll see those as Freud's terms. Topography, the topography is the iceberg, that the majority of things are unconscious, right? The pre-conscious are things that we're trying to bring up. Again, the terms, free association, dream analysis. These terms, manifest and latent content. When I remember these terms, I think about the Unabomber. If you're not old enough to remember, you might not. He wrote a manifesto. A manifesto talks about very much, he said what he wanted to do. The latent content is hidden. So my manifest is what you see. You grew up in church and the pastor said, manifest your dreams, right? Make them happen, make them visual. Latent is what's hidden. So OAPLG, the latent content is hidden. That's what happens in that stage of Freud. And that the 7 to 11, there's nothing sexual going on because it's hidden. Remember, transference is the client's stuff on me. Countertransference is my stuff onto the client. Is countertransference good or bad? Anyone?
It's neither.
Neither.
Absolutely, it is what it is. However, if I can't stand my client because it reminds me of my ex-mother-in-law, that's my stuff that I always take to supervision, right? When countertransference gets in the way, I'm going to take it to supervision. Rashida, is this your first session with me? Girl, stop writing.
Yes.
I talk way too fast for you ever to write it down. It's recorded and you'll get this. I promise you. So I like mindfulness, stay in the moment with me, and you'll get this piece of paper, you'll get the video. Okay. Stay in the moment. Okay. Catharsis is, what does that mean, Paula Walker? Y'all have used that term too.
It's an emotional release. I'm looking at that. So.
Give me an example. I know that your life is perfect and you've never had an emotional release, but can you pretend?
Let me see. I can't think of it.
Thank you. Right. So I've got these pent up emotions, a cry. Yes, a cry, any kind of emotional release, things that I've had pent up. Okay.
Okay.
It's recorded. I'm gonna say it anyway. So again, I mentioned to you earlier that you know, maybe I've met somebody, maybe. But I honestly have a really big hole. My mother died. And I've always craved that maternal figure. I've always craved that. That's a real thing for me. And the first time I met my friend's mother, she let me cook with her. She's 86. I love to cook, but she's 86. And I'm not women, but you won't be letting everybody in your kitchen, do you? Nobody everybody in your kitchen. And the fact that she let me cook, I cried. I cried because for me, that's a huge issue. That's a huge issue. To have that mother figure. And I want to just suck her up and learn everything that she needs to, that she knows, and like sop it up with every time I talk to her. But I cried. That's an emotional release because that's a hurt I've had for a long time. And the fact that I was able to heal some of that was an emotional release for me. I know you guys are all perfect and your lives are all together, but in my life, it's not always so great. So I had a cathartic moment. Make sense? Okay. Insight. Whenever you see the word insight, that belongs to any of my unconscious people. When I look at like reality therapy or behavior therapy, they don't care if you have insight. Insight is the reason why you behave that way. That's only an unconscious term. That is not a behaviorist. Okay. We keep going. We look at Anna O. That's Freud's first patient. It wasn't his actual patient. It was a friend's patient, but that's where he tested out his theories. So Anna O was a case study. Okay. Again, you probably won't see little Hans, but that's where Oedipus came from. The little boy is afraid that so it's Oedipus. I know it sounds like an E, but Oedipus starts with an O. He's afraid that his daddy will find out that he's in love with his mama and cut his penis. Okay. Jung, we won't see a lot about him. Carl Jung is most often named for MBTI. Okay. That's where we get those 16 personality styles. Okay. Collective unconscious is a term that you'll see. And again, we're trying to learn verbiage that belongs to that particular theorist. So he believes in the collective unconscious. Freud said everything was unconscious, but Jung said that it's not only my unconscious, it's all the past stuff, past generations, things that are happening in the world. Those are all the things that are happening in my unconscious. Jung also talked about his archetypes. Okay. He had like quite a few. There's like 20 of them. Let's go. So like I said, he had tons, but the one archetypes, the 4 we look for based on the MBTI, those are going to be the animus. Remember, he said inside of us would always have the opposite sex. So I am a female. So inside of me, there's that mus. The shadow, see those devil horns? I know none of you guys have any hidden secrets, but I might have 20, 30, 40, 100, just saying. The persona, I'm sorry, that's my Facebook page. Oh my gosh, Pam Turner is so happy. Look at her. Her life is perfect. She smiles. She has no worries. And of course, the self, those are things that I don't know about myself, nor do you. So those are where the MBTI comes from. And when you see those tests, those questions, the test questions, you do have to know those 16 personality types. You have to know what we're an extrovert, introvert, those things you do have to know. Okay. Adler is birth order. He talked about the importance of birth constellation. I'm a firstborn. Firstborn means that I am superior. I'm the first child and the first grandchild. For 2 years, I thought my stuff didn't stink. Yeah, look at me, right? Then that second child comes along and dumps me. I get dumped. I get thrown off my throne, or dismantled from my throne. I spend the rest of my life striving to feel superior, because now I feel inferior because of the other children that were born into life. Okay. So again, birth constellation, birth order, family constellation. I'm looking for words that would belong to Adler. Every theorist has their own verbiage. Okay. And you'll get this again. I only teach you the test, or other things that are on here that are not necessarily a test question. I only teach you the test. Lifestyle. Okay. So lifestyle, he said, based on my birth order, that I've got this belief that I'm amazing. And I do. The firstborn, my grandmama, the first child, first grandchild. I'm the bomb diggity, right? But what he said is we can't live our whole life based on those distorted beliefs. Okay. The goal is to get rid of those distorted beliefs that I learned in childhood. I'm not superior, right? I'm just me. And to get rid of those. So again, those are terms that belong to Adler. That term neo-Freudians, my neo-Freudians are anyone who believed in the unconscious but didn't believe in the sex stuff. So the id and the superego are not, those are only Freud. Okay, Karen Horney's stack from, they believe there was some definitely unconscious stuff, but had nothing to do with my psychosexual development. That was only a Freud thing. I don't spend a lot of times teaching these. I really don't. Okay. Most often what you need to know is they're neo-Freudians. Those are things that I'm going to say after you know everything else, come back and pick up those. Okay. Most often you'll see a question about what neo-Freudians are. So they believed in everything but the sex stuff. But this gives you a great definition of of all of those. Okay. Integrative versus eclectic. What does that mean? Oh, let's see. Stephanie Cook. What's that mean?
Integrated. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on.
Versus
can you see
eclectic.
me?
I can.
Okay. All right. So I don't know if I have this right, but eclectic, I feel like is a lot more colorful.
That would not be a test answer.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to figure this out.
So again, yeah, and you're right. But I'm only teaching you verbiage for the test. Okay.
Right.
Remember,
this is just what I know, and they don't care what I know.
Exactly. Unless the question says, according to Stephanie Cook, where do you live?
I live in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Stephanie Cook who lives in Cincinnati, Ohio. If that doesn't say that, it doesn't matter, right? So,
you're right. Yeah.
So it's integrative is integrative means that I have one that I usually use. And then I'm going to integrate some specialty parts into that. So I normally use CBT or have my own therapy, and then I'm going to integrate some other stuff into what I use based on this client. A collective means that I don't really have my own. I'm using bits and pieces of everybody. So a collective is like a jack of all trades. Okay, for the test.
Dr. Pam, I'm confused because isn't integrative the same thing? You have your own technique, but then you take from other theorists and use their technique?
So a collective is I don't have my own theory at all.
Okay.
Okay. Integrative is I normally use, I'm a CBT person. I normally use CBT, but I've got this one client coming in. I need to pull in some reality therapy. Eclectic means I don't have any of my own. I know a little bit about everybody. Okay. When we think of eclectic, most often we're going to think of Lazarus. Lazarus is my multimodal guy. Do you know what that means? Anybody?
He uses more multiple modalities.
So give me more. That's right. Give me a little bit more.
Uses different theorist substance in his sessions and that. He integrates.
Okay. So basic idea is Lazarus. So Lazarus is multimodal, which means that he doesn't have his own therapy. He just picks and chooses. He didn't pick and choose. He treats you on how you present. Okay. So then he is considered eclectic because, again, he doesn't have his own. So if I present with depression and depression looks like a behavior, can't get out of bed, I'm exhausted all the time, that sorry about that. I might have lost you there. Okay. So what Lazarus said is, again, however you present to me. So behaviorally, depression is I can't get out of bed, I'm exhausted, I want to, I can't do this. He's going to treat you behaviorally. Your affect is your mood, right? He's going to treat you based on the mood you present with. The S is for sensations. It can be your 5 senses, or it also can be like laziness, things like that. I can't get out of bed. I mean, so I feel lazy all the time. So he's going to treat me based on how I present that. Imagery. I imagine myself killing my boss. If that's what you say, he's going to treat you with positive imagery. Cognitions, of course, are your thoughts, which is CBT. Interpersonal, remember INTER always means how we act with other people. So if I can't maintain an interpersonal relationship, he's going to, again, treat me that way based on what I presented. And the D stands for drugs, but not really. What it really means is my physical symptoms. I'm going to present based on the physical symptoms that you see. So Lazarus is considered eclectic. None of these he came up with, right? They're all other people's theories. So he's just going to treat you on how you present. That's multimodal. So he's the biggest one when we talk about eclectic. Integrative is I have my own. In there, let's go back and look at that picture.
So Dr. Pam, can I ask a question? And I know you can say yes, so I'm going to go ahead and do it.
It doesn't matter what I say. It's kind of like my kids. Mom, can I have money?
Multimodal and eclectic would fall under the same subheading.
So I'm going to say to you that you may see a question about someone who's eclectic. Okay. Eclectic means they don't have their own specific one. They use a little bit of everybody. They're a jack of all trades. However,
go ahead.
Lazarus is known to be eclectic, but he's not the only one who's eclectic.
So he's the only one that's multimodal.
Okay, exactly. But don't assume they mean the exact same thing. Eclectic means I don't have my own. I pick and choose from everybody.
Okay.
Okay. But Lazarus is known to be multimodal, which is eclectic because he doesn't have his own theory.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome. Does that make it clearer than mud?
So do
Yes.
we need to know? Do we need to know the difference in multi-model? We just need to know that multi-model goes with Lazarus.
Okay. And he's also eclectic.
Okay.
Okay. So I only teach you the test. I only teach you the test. I promise you. So if I tell you about it, it's a test possibility.
Anybody other than Lazarus that
I'm sorry. I don't hear you.
I don't hear you. I'm driving. I can't turn on my camera.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So
Is there
ask me.
Is there anybody else other than Lazarus that is multimodal? Any other peers?
No. When I see multimodal, that's a big old ding, ding, ding that belongs to Lazarus. But there are other people there. So as a therapist, you can be eclectic or you can be integrative. That's how you choose to practice.
But there are other theorists that are eclectic.
No.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. You totally lost? Just kind of lost? Okay. Okay, so I was talking about my neo-Freudians. So remember, neo-Freudians did not believe in that sex stuff. They believed in the unconscious, but they did not believe in the sex stuff. Okay. So again, I don't spend a lot of time teaching like Fromm, Sullivan, and Horney, because again, if you know everything else, come back and pick them up. But most often just know that they're neo-Freudians. Okay. So let's keep going. CBT, who do I think of? What name?
Eric Beck.
Got it. And what did Beck say? What's the problem with my what is my issue according to Beck?
Thinking.
Stinking thinking. So Beck used that term, Socratic thinking. What does that mean? Socrates. What does that mean? Right. Who was Socrates, guys? Do you remember your Greek mythology? I only know that because I went to Greece 2 years ago. I'm not going to pretend I'm not smart. Okay, so Socrates was a thinker. And Beck did not believe that depression was real. He said it was really your stinking thinking. So he's always doing Socratic questioning. He's always going to ask you, how do you know? How do you know? How do you know? So he didn't believe that depression was a mental illness. That was just the way you think. So if I showed up with a CBT person and I say, wow, I'm really depressed. I don't have any friends. No one wants to hang out with me. They're going to say, well, how do you know? Prove it to me. Well, you know what? I don't, it's Friday night. Today's Friday, Saturday. Today's Saturday. It's Saturday night and I don't have a date. So how do you know no one wants to hang out with you? Did you ask people? Did someone specifically say that I want to hang out with you tonight, Pam? He's always questioning my thought process, right? Just trying to restructure my thinking. Dr. Field said, it's the stinking thinking. That's not stinking, it's stanking, S-T-A-N-K, stanking thinking.
Dr. Pam?
Yes.
On the test, they use crooked thinking as well.
That works as well. Thank you. Crooked thinking. Okay. I like stanking thinking before, but crooked thinking works well. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. And he really said the problem is it's not a biochemical balance. There's no SSRIs that you need. It really has to do with how you process, how you think about it. So he's going to keep questioning you. Prove it to me. Prove it to me that you have no friends. Prove it to me that no one wants to hang out with you. So cognitive processes influence behavior. So if I can change the way that I think, what happens next? I'll change the way that I
behave.
What comes
Behave.
before that? Feel first,
Think.
and then behave.
Behave.
Okay. So he did not believe that there was anything such as the depression wasn't real. Okay. So CBT is cognitive restructuring, changing the way that you think. Okay. Restructuring behaviors alters your behavior, your thinking, and your feeling. The goal of therapy is to eliminate your current dysfunctional behavior. Okay. So the difference between CBT and behavior theorists. So my behavior theorists are who? Give me some names.
Pavlov and Skinner.
Thank you, DeWanda. What's the difference?
Pavlov is operant conditioning and Skinner is
other way.
Oh, Skinner is operative conditioning and Pavlov is
classical conditioning.
Classical conditioning, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so when I ring this bell, what does that mean?
That's the Thorndike law.
For you, anybody, what does it mean when I ring the bell? What does it mean?
Good job.
So before you met me, I had this bell and I've rang the bell forever. If it's your first time, you're like, what the hell? She's ringing the bell, right? Those of you that have been with me, what happens? What happens when I ring the bell, or why do I ring the bell?
Get the question right.
Oh, so you have paired the right answer with what?
The bell.
Conditional stimuli.
Conditioned stimuli. That's right. Okay, so the response before is unconditioned, right? I can ring this bell all day long. If you ain't never met me, you're like, oh, dinner's ready. What does that mean, right? So the unconditioned response is my body. Response is what my body does all by itself. Okay. Unconditioned response, unconditioned stimuli, whatever. But if you've been with the group a couple of times, you know that, hey, if I get the answer right, Dr. Pam will ring the bell. So now I have paired the correct answer with bell. Now it's a conditioned response. What my body does is then this is going to be the stimuli. So it's unconditioned to begin with. We pair it and then it becomes conditioned. Okay. How do you know what to do when the front door, when the bell rings, you hear the ding dong at your doorbell? How do you know what that means? Were you born with that? In utero, your mama told you that oh, when the bell rings, you go answer. How do you know?
Learn.
Would that be
Learn
more like
behavior.
Bandura, social learning theory? Kind of.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, you're right, Angelina. Okay, but that wasn't my question, but you're right. It's learned. It's learned.
Learn behavior.
Yes, but I've learned it. I've paired these two things. I've paired the fact that when I hear that sound, that someone's at the door. I've paired those two things. And yes, social learning is one of the ways that I've learned it, but classical condition is when I pair those two things. All right. Kindergarten is about classical conditioning. If you've never been to school before and that school bell rings, what the heck's that mean, right? But now that you're in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, my teacher in the group. Okay, so Cassandra, you live and die by the bell, don't you?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't.
Okay,
I could
Cassandra.
care less when that bell rings.
The teachers that follow the rules, everyone but you. I was a school social worker for many years. You live and die by the bell, right? So yes. I've paired those two things. If you watch my videos, my prior videos, I'll talk about my husband, my doggy just came to visit us. Hello. So my kids, my husband was sick for quite a while. And every time that every time that they, hospitals in the beginning meant nothing to them. It meant absolutely nothing at all. However, after a while, they paired the hospital with dad being sick. And then when he died in the hospital, now they have paired all hospitals with fear. My kids had fear and anxiety before. They've always had it, but they didn't pair it. It wasn't paired to anything until something happened. So classical conditioning it happens over and over again and becomes paired. Okay.
Dr. Payne, can I ask a question?
Nope.
When my son was 18 months, his grandmother had cancer, and we went to the hospital every weekend and spent the whole weekend at the hospital. When she died, every time we passed that hospital, he cried to go see her. Which conditioning is that?
You tell me.
I wouldn't be asking if I already knew.
So you drove by the hospital before she was sick. Did he freak out when you drove by the hospital before?
No.
Okay. So then he's always had the feeling of sadness. He's always had the crying or the anxiety. He's always had that, right?
Yes.
But it didn't mean anything until he paired it with the hospital. It was unconditioned before.
Okay.
Right. Didn't mean anything. I've got this stuff. And the hospital was unconditioned. But after that we paired it, then it became a conditioned response. What my body does is the response, and the stimuli is the hospital. Now it's conditioned.
Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Angelina, you mentioned Thorndike. Who's he and what did he do? Was it you?
No, I mentioned Bandura. Is that the same?
Bandura social learning. That's how you know how to ride an elevator, right? Because you watch other people. Did someone say Thorndike? Did I make it up?
That was me.
Okay, DeWanda. So who's that Thorndike guy? What does that mean?
He was related to Skinner, and
they were cousins.
Well, they had the same theory, which is the operative response.
So I don't think they know each other, but so what? You're right. You're the gang, girlfriend. Okay, so the law of effect means if I want to change behavior, I need to reward or consequence the behavior as close to the behavior as possible. Okay. So if you grew up in a house when your mom said, when your daddy gets home, you're going to get it, that kind of loses its punch, right? What I want is, if you want to change my behavior, it needs to happen as close to the behavior as possible. And one of my pet peeves, and most often you've seen it in my videos, is I know that you all have these wonderful professors in grad school, right? Anybody have a professor that like graded everything at the end? Like, hello, if I didn't do it right on the first paper, tell me right now, because I can fix the others. But if you don't tell me to the end, I don't know to make the change. So Thorndike said, let's pair these two things. So if the first paper you write, I'm going to mark up, this is wrong, this is this is that. Won't you change? You all want the A, right? So that's the goal, is that if I want to change the behavior, the reinforcement or the consequences needs to happen as close to the behavior as possible. Don't tell me 6 weeks from now that paper I wrote that I forgot I wrote was wrong. Okay. That's Thorndike. It's called the law of effect. It's kind of like the law of gravity, right? Laws are laws. So law of effect says, if I want to change behavior, the consequences and the reinforcement needs to happen as close to the behavior as possible. You've heard that before, because I just make things up as I go along. You know that, right? I just kind of make it up. Right. So operant condition is rewards and consequences. Classical is pairing. Unconditional, unconditioned response, the UCR, my body, becomes paired. It becomes then a CR, a conditioned response to the conditioned stimuli. Okay. Systematic desensitization. Who is that? What did Joseph Wolpe tell me?
Wolpe.
Who said that? Lisa? I can't see you, Lisa. I can't hear you.
I know, I'm laying down.
Girl, put some clothes on and answer
Okay.
the question. No, please, really. So what does that mean?
Systematic desensitization.
Yeah.
When you get into the phobias, trying to desensitize your phobias.
Okay. So yeah, the other one is like flooding. So flooding is when I do it all at the same time. So how is that different than systematic desensitization?
Flooding, yeah, I thought flooding was, yeah, all at the same time. So I thought it was, you take your time with the desensitizing with the phobia.
Okay. So if I'm afraid of spiders and you're going to do flooding with me, what would that look like?
Well, flooding, I'm just gonna show the spiders in my hand and show it to your face. But desensitize, I think I'll just take you into the room where the spiders is and it in a jar and let you see it and get you closer and closer and closer.
Absolutely.
Flooding, I'm just gonna have the spider in my hand for you. Ready?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Perfect. Okay. So flooding, and the best way for me to remember is, my kids were little and we were at the YMCA and they had a couple swimming questions. They had some swimming lessons. And I dropped them off, and when I left, the lifeguard would just push them in. They already knew how to swim. Do not be calling defects on me. They're grown and they're alive. Okay. Just so you know. Okay. So flooding is all at the same time. And I think of the water. He would just push them in because they were afraid to get in the water, but they knew how to swim. So systematic desensitization is slowly. So if I'm afraid of heights, I'm afraid of flying, the first thing I'm going to do is go to the airport, and we're going to sit in the airport in the car, right? Your anxiety level is going to rise, right? We're going to talk about it, and we're going to get it stabilized. We'll come back. The next time you got to get out of the car. The next time you got to actually walk up to the airport doors. Okay. So slowly we're going to get there. That's desensitization. So again, these are terms you've heard in the real world. When it comes to like, especially in our inner city areas, and we hear guns, we hear shootings all the time. We've become desensitized to that, right? We don't freak out when we see shootings on the news now, because we've heard it so often. That's what that means. We've slowly become desensitized to what happens, which is not a good thing, but that's what it is, right? Are we surprised when we see a shooting in the mall? Anybody turn on the news like, oh my gosh, there's a shooting. You're like, oh, I can't believe that happened. Are we there? We're not surprised anymore. We're not. We become desensitized to that. And that's what that means. Again, I am not teaching you anything you don't already know. I'm just giving you the verbiage to put with what you know. Good. Okay. Again, so whenever I see those terms, flooding, implosive, or all those things, that belongs to phobia. So what is implosive therapy?
Is it in your mind, your imagination, or in your mind?
Okay. Prolonged exposure to feared events without the catastrophe to produce the extinction of anxiety. So when we think of implosion, we most often think of flooding, but not real.
Can you give us an example of that?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So did you ever, you know, that was a really, really awful show on like Showtime, Netflix, Shameless. Anybody watched that awful show? I hate to admit it, but it was awful. But it was really good for mental health. It was really good. Remember that? So yeah. I'm trying to remember what season it was, but at one point there was the father married the woman who was afraid to leave the house. Do you remember that? Probably not. Okay, so one of the sisters who
Yes,
married the
I
woman who's
remember.
afraid to leave the house. Okay, she's afraid to leave the house. And so the therapist came to the house and she had like the VR sunglasses the VR glasses that pretended like she was in the grocery store.
Yes.
Okay. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, watch it, but don't tell anybody I said to watch that because it's like totally trash and awful. But it's a really, really good idea of mental illness. It's a whole family of mental illness. So implosive therapy is when it is, I am exposing you to it, but not really.
Would it be like virtual reality?
That's what I said, VR glasses. Who said that? Someone said I don't understand. Cassandra Scott.
I'm driving. I can't turn on my camera.
Okay. I'm trying to find a question. Okay, so if I'm afraid of, before VR glasses came about, so what happened is that, let's say that I'm afraid of spiders. I would say to you, close your eyes. Pretend that there are spiders crawling up your arm. You feel their little furry legs and they're crawling up your arms. They're crawling all around you. They're almost close to your face. What does that feel like?
It make my skin crawl because I'm scared of snakes.
Okay. So are the snakes slimy? Does it feel slimy on your skin?
No, they feel tight. I'm gonna die.
Okay. So that's not real, right? There's no snake crawling on you, but you would do that in a session where you feel like the snake is crawling on you. So it's implosion. I mean, it's flooding, but it's not real.
Okay. Can you use pictures with the implosive therapy? Like just showing pictures?
You sure can. You sure can. The test is not getting that deep though. They're not making sure that you're an expert on this. They're not, but yes, you can. Anybody afraid of the dark? Okay, so pretend you're in a dark cave and we've turned off all the lights. What do you hear? Do you hear the bats? What do you hear? Okay, I'm going to talk you through it. I'm going to talk you through those fears that you have, but you're not really there. If you open your eyes, you're going to find out you're sitting in your bedroom. Good. Okay. Albert Ellis, what's the alphabet that belongs to him?
A, B, C, D,
A, B, C, D,
R, E, B, T.
What does that mean?
Rational emotive behavior therapy.
That's like repeating the answer.
Oh.
That's like, so didn't your teacher
rational thinking?
Okay, the teacher says you cannot use the question in your response, right?
Irrational thinking.
Okay, so what is the theory? So he's an offshoot of CDT. So what did REBT tell me? What did Ellis say?
It's more about the beliefs.
The belief system.
Thinking.
Okay. Okay, so I'm sure. Can you see my screen? A, B, C, D, E of REBT? See my model? Okay. I'm not talking about anyone in this group. These are your friends, none of you. Okay. So let's say you failed the test. None of you. Just some people that you know. Okay. That's the event. You failed the test. That's the event. But he said the problem is not the fact you failed the test. The problem is your belief system. Again, none of you, but some of your friends said, oh my gosh, my mother was right. I should have been a teacher. I should have gone to law school. I should have been a nurse. I'm not going to be a counselor, right? That's the belief system you have because you failed the test. I will never pass the test. I will never do this. So if that's how I believe, my irrational belief system, then I have some emotional consequences, right? Do I think I'm a good counselor? I failed the test. I'll never be a counselor. I can't be an LPC. Oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, none of you, just your friends, none of you. Okay. So then I'm going to come along and I'm going to say, so you know what, Amy? Amy, do you have some friends that maybe have passed the test that keep asking you questions?
No, I don't have any that have passed the test and have asked me questions. No.
You don't have any friends. You don't have any friends, Amy? Is that what you're telling me?
Very little. No.
That's a different session, Amy. So I'm gonna. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Amy, we need to talk about that later. Okay. So. Lahoma, do you have some friends that maybe have already passed their licensure test but ask you questions?
Yes, absolutely.
So you're thinking, dang, you're supposed to be smarter than me. You got them letters after your name. And I'm going to say to you, hey, just because they have their letters after their name, does that make them a better counselor than you?
Absolutely not.
It makes them a better test taker, but it does not make them a better counselor. Okay. So I'm going to dispute your belief system because you believe I didn't pass the test. Oh my gosh, I'll never be a good counselor. My clients will all die because I don't know what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to say, look at the cubicle next to you. You know what? That guy passed the test 12 years ago, but he keeps asking you questions. Obviously, he's an idiot, but he's got a license. I'm sorry. He may not be an idiot, but he has a license. Okay. So the goal is then that if I dispute your belief system, that, hey, just because you have a license has nothing to do with whether or not you're a good counselor. Those two things are not even related. They're not related. Then at the end, you should have effective new consequences. Right? So you're going to have a different belief system about this test. So what Alice said is it's not the event. It's not the divorce. It's not that I got fired. It's not the event. It's my belief about the event. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Eugene, you have a question? Your hand is up. No.
Yes, I do. Hi, good afternoon.
How are you?
Hi, I'm well. So I have a question in regards to this particular theory and theorist.
Okay.
So my question is, would self-talk and like affirmations that we speak to ourselves to transform the way we think before going into an activity, or
so
I guess
I'm going to tell you that would belong to CBT, not to this theory. So CBT is changing your thought pattern. Okay. So again, I only teach to the test. So in this particular one, what we're talking about is that would definitely just belong to CBT. Of course, I lost it. So if we look at our positive affirmations, changing the way that we talk to ourselves, things like that, that would belong to Beck, which is my CBT, as opposed to Ellis, which is REBT. And I know they sound extremely the same, right? It's almost as if Ellis borrowed from CBT, right? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was like. There's some very similar connections between the two theories.
And you know what else has a similar connection is DBT, dialectical behavior therapy, which is Marsha Linehan, and she used that for our borderline personality disorders. She kind of borrowed from CBT, just saying. Okay, so with the REBT, I'm looking for irrational thoughts, irrational beliefs. That's the verbiage that he would use. Cognitive restructuring would use affirmations. Cognitive restructuring would use journaling. It would use bibliotherapy. What's bibliotherapy? Anybody?
Use a book in therapy.
Read a book, exactly, to change your processing, your thinking patterns. Okay, so that would belong to CBT. And again, that's why it's important to know the verbiage that particular theorist would use. Every theorist has their own language.
Thank you, Dr. Pam.
I'm gonna go on a limb here. Anybody been married more than once?
Yep.
Be brave. Talk to me. Okay. Lahoma. So did the first and second husband talk exactly the same way? Use the same verbiage?
Absolutely not.
Exactly. Everybody's got their own verbiage. I know with my kids, I know who's going to say what. And when one of my kids says something, I'm like, girl, where'd you get that from? Because that's not the verbiage that she would use. So that's the goal, is learning the verbiage that the theorist would use. Okay. So again, I gotta go, guys. It's past my date time. Just saying. Normally I keep it at 8:30, but you know, I might have a little boo on the side. So just saying, it's gonna affect my boo on the side, might affect my time I spent with you. And I've told you, I've given you warnings, right? I've told you that I didn't have a life, but I might have a life coming up. So I'll put this in the chat box. Actually, you'll get an email of it, okay? And again, it talks about the terms, again, who belongs to what. So empathetic understanding, congruence, unconditional positive regard. Whose words are those?
Those are Rogers.
Rogers. Rogers, absolutely. That's what we're learning. The verbiage that belongs to theorists. Fritz Perls, he is the guy that came up with Gestalt. I need to know his name. Gestalt means to be a whole person, to get rid of the unfinished business so I can be a whole person. Okay. TA is Eric Bernet. Eric Bernet has those like 3 ego states, right? Parent, adult, child. What's the goal of the transactional analysis?
Communication.
That's what he wants us to do. But he said that last one, that the ulterior plan, we learned that in childhood, right? We talk down to somebody, we learned that in childhood. So the goal of TA is to learn how to come from the appropriate ego state, or to get rid of those childhood scripts. Scripts belongs to TA. Everybody has, again, their own verbiage. The book he wrote was The Games People Play. Okay, so complementary, cross, and ulterior. We've talked about that. And he said that last one, the ulterior motives, those are games. So the book he wrote was The Games People Play, because he said those games were intentional and purposeful. That we come from that childhood state on purpose. It's a very directive approach to try to teach you not to come from that childhood state. Again, this one, I've seen test questions on this. Anyone's taken the test? Have you seen this before? The drama triangle?
Yes.
Okay. So none of these are good. Whether I'm the victim, the persecutor, or the rescuer, none of them are good. These are the roles that I play in the drama triangle. Sometimes I pretend I'm the victim. Oh my gosh, he hurt my feelings. Yeah, whatever, right? None of the roles are good, but that's called Cartman's triangle. Okay. Script analysis, again, that's going to belong to TA. Whenever I see script, that belongs to transactional analysis. He wants us to live a scriptless life. Reality therapy is Glasser. Glasser talks about choices and responsibility. I'm responsible for the choices that I make. He says we have five things that I have to get met. Okay. Put that in there. There we go. Okay. So Glasser's reality therapy. Glasser said that we're born with these 5 things that we have to get met. No, yeah, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I thought so. Okay. So I have these basic needs, innate. I'm born with having to get these needs met. Love and belonging, power, fun, survival, and freedom. But how I make the choice to get those things met is up to me. I'm responsible for my choices. So let's say that I want power. I want to be in charge. And I decide I'm going to sleep my way to the top. I'm 57. That's probably not going to happen. But when I was 27, maybe, right? Okay, so if that's what I choose, then I'm responsible for the choices that I've made. And what he wants us to do is to make better choices. Okay. But however, if I make that, it's called choice therapy. And the word I'm looking for is responsibility. I'm responsible for the choices that I've made. That correct link in there. Okay. It'll take you to that site with the pictures. Okay. These belong, does anybody recognize those terms that belong to Gestalt and Melt and Mitwelt and those terms? Have you ever seen those on the test?
What?
Yeah, exactly. I've seen them in study material, but I've never actually heard of anyone having those on the test.
Shit is crazy.
I'm sorry. Okay. So again, it goes also into the family therapy that you guys discussed last week. So there's nothing new in there. Okay. And this also comes with the terms again. So Bowen, differentiation of self, emotional triangles, family projection, emotional cutoff. Those are things that are just refreshers of what you learned last week. Okay. Primary, secondary, and tertiary. Do we know those? Of course we do. Paige, what is a primary prevention?
The primary is actually like teaching before it happens, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. Every kid in elementary school got some sort of DARE program or things like that, right?
Yes.
That's
Chicken
what
Club.
that means.
Can I get my bell?
Oh,
Ding,
look at
ding,
you.
ding.
So, yes.
I get excited about that bell, I swear.
Paige, do you remember the first time that you joined a group?
Yes.
So when I rang the bell the first time, were you thinking, what the heck is wrong with her?
You put me so on the spot.
I just, so, okay, not just you, but most people. The first time,
but now I be super excited about the bell. I be like, can I have
you have paired those two things. That's classical conditioning.
Yes, and
okay.
Thank you for that. I needed help with classical conditions, so it really helped.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay,
can I say? Go ahead.
I was gonna say with the bell, what made when the young lady just talked about cancer and how her son drives by, that when they drive by the hospital, he cries because he wants to go see his grandma. And as y'all were talking about the bell, what's gonna make me remember Pavlov is I had cancer. So when I paired the fact that I had to go through 14 rounds of chemo, and I knew at the end I was gonna get to ring the bell, because at the beginning I knew about the bell because my grandmother had cancer and she got to ring the bell, but I carried that into my cancer. Like, okay, when you finish this, you know you're gonna get to ring that bell. So that's Pavlov, a learned behavior that when you go and you do all of these rounds of chemo and you finish, that's a reward of a learned behavior that you're gonna ring this bell because you still have life. So I'm not gonna forgive Pavlov. It's classical conditioning.
Absolutely. You pair two things. Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, for most people, the first time you've been with me, you're like, why the heck is she ringing a bell? We aren't 3, right? We are at 3. Watch ringing the bell, right? But yet, after you've been with me for half a minute, you like the bell, right? Because you've paired those two things. That's classical conditioning. And I promise you, when I first started teaching, I taught kids, and that's where the bell came from. But I realized my adults liked it too. I like the bell. I like being reinforced. I like to know that I got it right. That's important to us. That's important to all of us. Okay. So you will get this, and you'll also get some questions that go along with helping relations. This is the most important, where the most points come from. Absolutely where the most points come from. Ask me questions, guys. Something I didn't go over. You've been dying to ask me, but you will get this information as well as questions that go along with it. The down part of this, the one I used today, it doesn't come with rationales of why it's right. So definitely we can bring this up next week of why that's the right answer. So I'll kind of put in some questions for next week of how we got here. But again, ask me questions. Ask me questions.
Okay, I'm gonna go first. No good question is a dumb question, but I'm just gonna ask this question, even if I think
I'm
it's
a
dumb.
college professor. I'm gonna swear there are dumb questions, but I won't make you feel like you're dumb. I'm just gonna put it
Okay,
out there.
so we're all in. We have all paid for these Saturday sessions, right?
Gotta go.
I know you have a boot camp coming up.
I do.
Do we need to pay additional money for the boot camp, or are we gonna already?
That is a prudence question. That is, I don't do money. Sorry.
I don't get it.
So yes, you have to pay additional funds. Yes. you do.
Okay, that's
Okay.
what I wanted to know. So, because I'm
Yes.
going to pay for that boot
Okay.
camp tonight.
Yes. However, when it comes to money, that really, and not that I don't care about money, I do, because my staff has to be paid, but all I want to do, my only goal in life is to teach. That is my only goal, is to help you pass this test. The mission statement of my business is, we don't think this sheet of paper should ever stop you from doing what I think God has called you to do. Okay. But I do have staff I have to pay. I'm not gonna lie. They don't like working for free, that pro bono stuff. So yes, there's a charge for it. There's additional charge.
I just want to make sure I'm going to pay tonight. Thank you.
Dr. Pam, I have a question about that too.
Yes.
I'm going to soon be ending up my sessions with y'all, regular sessions.
Mhm.
How many boot camps do I need to take in the next 3 weeks after I end with y'all to make sure I pass that exam?
Can you ask me that question tomorrow, an individual?
Excuse me?
Can you ask me that question when we have an individual session?
I can, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. And again, and there's not a stock answer. There's not a stock answer. Everybody learns differently. Everybody learns at a different pace. What we bring to the table is, we're one of the very few companies that offers individual sessions. I only tutor to what you don't know. If you already know it, then I'm not going to take your money because you already know it. I'm only going to teach you what you don't know, because I want you to pass the test. And I'm not trying to get you to get 1,000, 1,000,000 points over. I'm just trying to get you to pass the test. We only teach to the test. We can debate all day about real world stuff, but our only goal is to let you do what you want to do, because once you pass the test, you can do what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Stay within the code of ethics, but you can tutor, you can counsel however you want to counsel once you pass the test. And I want you to make money. I know that I know that you guys just, love that, we're living that whole life, but what? Oh, just going to practice and charge mega bucks. That's the goal. $225 an hour is reasonable and customary in most states.
Dr. Pam, does the recall mean that the questions aren't on the exam anymore?
Not at all. Recall means that there's not enough question, there's not enough information in the question to figure it out. You just have to know.
Okay.
Okay. 68, 95, 99. That's a normal standard bell curve. Okay. So if you get that question, what is the mean, when the mean, median, and mode are all the same, that's a standard bell curve. That's a recall question. Okay, there's not enough information in the sentences to fill it out. It's not a reading test, it's a recall question. Okay. Ask me other questions, guys. I see questions in the chat box.
Question. Can you explain congruence again?
I can. Who said that? Paige?
Page, yeah.
Page?
Yes.
You know what? I don't understand why people would spend so much money just to get extra protein. That's ridiculous. Why would I do a protein drink? It's empty. So, okay. So what my mouth is saying does not match with what I'm doing.
Okay.
I'm lying. I'm lying. If it doesn't match, I'm lying. I'm sitting there, I don't have any food. Wait. I'm trying to lose weight. I don't know. I don't eat anything ever. Okay, but yeah, I can't lose weight. I don't know why I can't lose weight. Do you know why I can't lose weight?
Because you
have a clue? Exactly.
Wow, Dr. Pam. Wow.
That was good.
Hello. I might have done some trick-or-treating this weekend. I'm just saying. I went away and it was Halloween. I might have done a whole bag of candy. Okay. I don't ever eat candy.
You went trick-or-treat for your birthday, Dr. Pam? Happy birthday!
I'm gonna give it to other people. Yeah, that's it. Wait, let me show my empty wrapper.
After you pick out the ones you like, you go give it away.
Can we get some M&Ms, Dr. Pam?
I didn't get my candy. My empty wrappers.
I see you ate a lot of Snickers. You was hungry, so why you didn't wait?
After you pick out the ones you like, they can have the other two.
Okay, so
that's a great diet.
I gave away all the bubble gum and the taffy because I can't have that with my braces.
I was gonna say.
I'm just gonna say. Oh wait, that's a Reese.
That's a good diet.
My favorite.
Right, like peanut butter has some protein in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to lose weight.
You well on your way.
Some 50% there.
Am I lying?
You're gonna look good for Christmas.
99%. She got that protein.
500. I weigh 500 pounds for Christmas, so I keep eating this, right?
You on your way. We're encouragers too, so you on your way.
Okay, so am I lying? Am I watching what I eat?
No, you're not.
Call me.
I mean, you're watching what you eat.
Yeah, I am right. So
you watching it, but you still eating it.
I'm on a seafood diet. I whatever I see, I eat.
Dr. Pam.
Did that help though? So
it did.
That is incongruence. I'm lying. Okay, I'm gonna put this bag away.
But it's almost like the same analogy that you use for confrontation.
That's where you want to confront me.
That's when you confront. Yeah. Right. Very good. That was a good one.
So next week when I say, oh my gosh, I'm trying to lose 20 pounds and I haven't lost any, I don't know why. What are you saying to me? Girl, put that chocolate away. Okay.
Let's have a look at some of the things that you've been doing.
And stop eating that candy.
Absolutely. I kept telling the people it was for my kids. My kids are grown. Let's not pretend. Anyway, so no, now I have like Snickers in my braces. So does that help though?
It did, but I can't believe you eating it with the braces.
I can't either. And I keep talking to you because it's all in my braces now. So. I can't eat the Skittles because they'll definitely like stick to my braces. So okay.
Thank you. It helped a whole lot.
Dr. Pam, you can mail the Skittles to me. I'll see my address.
I did that just for you. I'm lying. Okay. That's incongruence. Is that? And again, I really try to I want you to remember. I share anecdotals. I do that because I want you to remember. You do this anyway. You do it all the time. You do. You swear to tell somebody, I only ate 1,200 calories today. And you know good and well you had more than that. Okay. That is incongruent. It doesn't match. So when I'm incongruent, you're going to call me on my stuff. Okay. So I'm going on a cruise for Christmas. I'm trying to lose weight. And at Christmas time, when I say, dang, I don't know why I hadn't lost weight, you're going to say, Dr. Pam, you ate the Halloween candy. That's why. Okay. If that helped, that was only for you, really. Other questions, guys?
Is
I'm painting my braces.
Milieu therapy and community therapy in the helping relationship chapter?
Repeat that.
MALIEU, Milieu therapy?
Milieu therapy, the term literally means in the middle. So milieu therapy happens in a residential facility where people live there. A hospital is a hospital place. Milieu just means in the middle. So a milieu therapist means that we're all working on the same plan. Sorry, I've got to get my braces. It's MILIEU, milieu.
Okay.
Let me pull that up for you. Let me show you. So when you're looking for jobs, I always say, my students, especially before they have their master's degree, I'll say, look for milieu therapists. You. I have to go brush my teeth. Share my screen with you. Okay. So a milieu therapist, you'll see that term often. I just went to Indeed. So milieu just really means in the middle of the situation. So a milieu therapist is someone who works in the term, it's like a Latin word for in the middle. Okay.
But what is when in the middle? Can you give me an example of that? Like,
so I don't. Has anybody seen that in your in questions?
I've never seen that on the test.
I never seen it either.
I've seen it in the book, in the Hellwood book.
And it's so you might see it there, but literally it just means in the middle. So if I work in a hospital where people are there for 28 days, the milieu means that everybody is working on the same page. So if the cafeteria workers, all the other staff are part of this milieu, we're all working toward the same thing. You all have to have the same number of points. You all have to do the same thing. So the milieu literally just means in the middle of the residential facility. We're part of that.
So if it's a drug and alcohol facility, inpatient 28, 30 days, that would be the same thing?
It should be. So a milieu therapist would be someone that we're all working on the same goal. So this says, demonstrates effective milieu management skills, which promotes positive patient experience. So that term literally means in the middle of the setting. Anybody live in PA? Let's see what it pays. It's usually not a master's level. It's usually a bachelor's level or lower than that. Yeah. So bachelor's degree. Yeah. So a milieu therapist is most often like sometimes a behavioral tech. So it's not usually a clinical level position. Okay. Anything else? Yes, it can be behavioral. It can be it really can. It's a mental health term. It can be a residential facility. It can be like the weekend staff of the residential facility. So that's still part of that milieu. That means we're all on the same page. We're all making sure that the clients have the same goals.
I'm sorry, Dr. Pam. So for inpatient facilities, those type of therapists would be the same thing?
So the milieu therapist is most often not a clinical position.
Okay.
So it could be like a recovery coach
situation.
So when you terms like recovery coach, those are like based on your area. So it could be, do you mean like a peer coach, like someone who's already gone through recovery?
Yes.
Yeah, so that would be someone in the milieu. That would be it. But you're not going to, the test question is not going to be that specific because everybody has a different term for what you might call it. Milieu just literally means someone who works in the setting. Okay.
Okay.
Other questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question, Dr. Pam.
Yes.
Okay, this is regarding after we pass, and I'm claiming it, after we pass our exam, I heard you mention that, okay, we can, start seeing patients and start working and charging what we want to charge. Is it true that we have to, because I'm on the LPC track, I'm trying to obtain my LPC license in order to open up my own private practice. So if I pass, or when I pass this exam, I can go straight into seeing my own private clients, or do I still have to go to the 3,000 hours of LPC before I can?
It depends on your state. Some people have had the hours before they test. Some people have the hours after they test. It depends on your state.
Okay.
So
I'm in the state of Texas. I was told that I have to pass the NCE first before I can start to earn my 3,000 hours towards the LPC license.
I see some Texans, the word, shaking their head.
She has to get the hours. She has to get intern hours.
Yeah. Have you already done your practicum and internship?
I already have my master's degree, so I had to do my hours during that. But I was also told that I have to take the NCE, then do another set of 3,000 hours towards getting my LPC license.
Yes, and that's yes, that's correct. And that's under supervision. So you can still be working for your own clinic, but you have to have a paid supervisor so that you have a weekly meeting with that paid supervisor. So you're going to be looking for an LPCS.
So
to
Shannon,
supervise
is that a law in Texas that you have to pay them?
I don't think it's necessarily a law. That's just common practice. You pay, like, I haven't found one yet that does it for free. Unless you're in a clinical setting, an agency setting that has an LPCS on staff.
And that's the same for New Jersey also. You have to get the hours.
At your site.
If they work at your site, then you get them for, if someone is there's licensed, you can get it for free. But if someone's not there, then you still need to get it so you can pay somebody outside. And that's another source of income once you become licensed and you get this certification to supervise. That's extra money that you can make charging someone to supervise them. But in the state of New Jersey, you have to get the hours. You take the test, you're LAC. licensed associate counselor, you get your 3,000 hours, and then you become the LPC. But during that time, you have to have supervision.
And Dr. Pam, in South Carolina, we can either sit in under a LPCS or a licensed psychologist. And
you can't do an LCSW?
No.
I don't.
Okay.
In New Jersey, you can. I'm in New
As I
Jersey.
said, because I'm an LC and I can also often supervise everybody.
Yes, yes.
So,
An
yeah,
LPC
LCSW trumps, we can supervise everybody, so.
In Georgia, Dr. Pam, you only can do like $100. I'm sorry, 100 hours with another clinician, like with LCSW or with a licensed psychologist.
You said in Georgia?
Yes, but in
It's
Georgia,
1,000. It's 1,000 with an LCSW. Have you talked to the state board?
yeah, I already like applied and got my application and everything. It's
Because I already have hours, but I think it depends on when you went to school.
Yeah, I already have my hours as well.
Okay. So again, that depends on your state, and I don't know each state well enough to know that. I just don't. So those are your state laws of how you become an LPC.
Okay, and that's in addition to me being a counselor right now. That's something separate. Is that correct? Like I'm a practicing counselor right now, but that has nothing to do, that's not going towards my LPC 3,000 hours.
No.
If you can get somebody to sign off on it, that would count.
It depends on the state you're in.
It depends on the state. In New Jersey, you don't start accumulating. I could have been working for years as a counselor, right? And once I start pursuing my license, until I take that test, my hours don't start accumulating in the state of New Jersey until after I take the test.
That's how it is in Texas.
Correct.
Okay.
In Texas, they don't accumulate until you pass that test and get that.
Correct.
Yeah.
And submit the application to be considered an associate. Is that correct?
Okay.
Okay.
So in some states, though, your hours count once you graduate, and then whether you're not to pass the test or not, those hours still count, and they're just waiting for you to pass the test. So it really depends on where you live. I don't write the rules, I promise. I just teach.
Yeah, I just wanted to, because I know every state has its different. So I just wanted to kind of make sure that I'm following the correct path according to the state of Texas.
And when you get ready to go into a different state, I have my LPC for Pennsylvania. I'm here because I'm trying to bring it into New Jersey. And then the reciprocity, each state has different rules.
I can tell you though that except for Louisiana, and I have about Louisiana, but most of my southern states have a lower passing rate. The score you need to pass my southern states is usually lower. However, it's much more difficult then to get reciprocity in the other states because you got if you did in like Alabama or South Carolina, then getting licensed in Jersey is a lot more difficult because you took the test in the South. So I'm an LCSW, not an LPC. I don't ever pretend to be that, but I was licensed in South Florida, which is for LPCs and anyone. It's one of the hardest. New York, California, Florida, one of the highest passing rates. But I had no problem getting a reciprocity in Georgia and Tennessee and also in Alabama. However, had I passed in Georgia first, it would have been much more difficult for Florida to accept. Florida would not accept my license because I got that first.
So if you went to do Florida, then you would have had to go and take the test in Florida as well?
So that's where I started off. I'm from South Florida, so that's where I got my, So Florida is one of the one that has a higher testing. The passing rate is, the passing score is higher in Florida than it is in some of the other southern states.
But if you know the material, it doesn't matter where you take it, correct?
So every state has the right to set their score.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, if you know the material,
But so sometimes, and we've all seen on Facebook that sometimes my southern states say you have to have an 84 to pass. I'm going to see that more in my southern states than I'm going to see in my northern states. So if North Carolina or South Carolina says you have to have 84 to pass, that doesn't mean that New York is going to accept your license. That makes sense?
It does, but like I'm studying with you now and I'm going to take the test in South Carolina. But
so the passing score in South Carolina is probably lower than the passing score in like Connecticut.
And it depends on which test you get. But if I decided
no. So the tests are, so there are several different forms of the test, but they're all reliable.
Okay.
So whatever the passing score is, it's a reliable test. It's a reliable score. But your state has the right to decide whether or not that is passing for that state.
Okay. But if I'm studying with you now and I decide tomorrow to move to New York, and I'm still studying with you, if I apply for the exam there, as long as I know the material, I should still be able to go pass it.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'm detesting.
However, I think what she's saying, but you could miss more questions in Georgia than you could in New York. So you may not pass it depending on how many you get wrong, unless you're going to get 100%.
If you score 128, you can't get 100%, by the way. It's a power test, and a power test means you can't get a perfect score. That's a test question. However, so if you get 128, you can get licensed anywhere. Let's not pretend. Anybody's going to take that if you get 120 on the test, okay? So, but if you get 84, not every state will accept that as a passing rate. And those who have taken the CPCE, don't assume that you'll do well on the NCE because your school set the CPC test where you needed to pass. That doesn't mean the state would require the same score.
And Dr. Pam, what's the difference in the LPC and the CPCE?
The CPCE is what you have to take to finish college in many states that are many K-CREP schools.
Oh, okay.
They used to be a lot different. Now they're pretty much the same. The CPC used to be so hard, but now they're pretty much the same. That's why I'm not a fan of the purple book, because that's not the way the CPC or the NC is written these days. If I had a date tonight, you guys might have ruined it. Just so you know.
You can go. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've always told everybody I'm married to my business, so no worries.
I don't want to be a cause of your love life plumbly. So you can go.
There's nobody here but me and my dogs. No worries. Okay. So other
might
questions,
be coming
guys.
through the window. I don't know.
Oh, if it goes through the window, I'll be very impressed. So,
hey, I don't know what kind of role play y'all got going on.
Oh, okay. Okay, I will stop recording for that. So,
right. Dr. Pam, if you've had to look, I've had dating your dates last 5 minutes.
Well, I'm not going to say nothing. I'm not going to say anything to that. So, okay. So, let me stop.